Yeah.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, did you see the Biden and Harris inauguration?
Only in bits and pieces. I was in meetings all day, so as soon as I got a break or, between meetings, I checked it out, but I couldn't watch it live because I was in a full day, almost a full day meeting. So
Oh, okay.
very
Well, what
exciting though. And I could see I could see it as it was happening. But no,
what
I wasn't watching it.
what bits and pieces did you actually see?
Well, not much really. I just saw the still shots of, the invocation and people arriving, and so I knew what was happening, but I couldn't watch it. And I was seeing a lot of tweets come in, a lot of people expressing just profound hope and positivity. So that's good. We need that.
Yeah. Can I ask you what Harris being vice president means to you?
Well, as a woman in elected office who knows what it's like to be in the minority, we've talked about this before, but only 20% of mayors across this country are women, one in
Oh,
five. And yet we are over half the population. And so we're still really underrepresented at the level that I serve. So I'm one of the few. And when I see somebody shatter that presidential glass ceiling in the US, and a woman of color, I mean, the hope that she is giving so many other people, when you see it, you can be it. And that's the message to people, young kids, whether they're boys or girls, that the gender shouldn't matter, that color shouldn't matter, that follow your dreams. If you've got the skills and the interest, you can do it. And that's what she's showing everybody out there, that that they can dream big and they can do it. So this is awesome. I know that was the messaging that I got from people in the community when I was elected. So as you will recall, I second female mayor in Burlington, but first in a generation. It's been
wow.
40 years since our last female mayor served in 1972 to 73. And back then they were 2-year terms. So I have now, as of December 3rd, the 2-year anniversary of my inauguration, I am now the longest serving female mayor in Burlington, a new milestone.
There you
So
go.
there you go. And loving it, loving to serve, and hope to do it for some time. So it's a true honor.
That's amazing. Yeah, and then
Hmm.
Harris has a lot of Canadian ties with her
Hmm.
going high school in Montreal. And did you know that Harris actually has an aunt in Mississauga?
I've been learning all this. Yes, I've
Okay.
been watching and learning. So that's very cool. So we had an Obama connection. We have a Harris connection.
Yeah.
Surely we can find something on the family tree for Biden that
Yeah.
connects him to Canada.
Leave it
Look
to me.
hard enough. Thank you.
So we'll get back to the COVID-19. A lot to talk about here. I got to ask about big box stores. Did you hand out any tickets to big box stores in Burlington?
I haven't checked in with our staff about that, but the big blitz from the province was really focused on those super hot spots, so they weren't actually in Burlington, but our bylaw are out regularly, just sort of targeting whoever needs to be. But they weren't part of that big blitz in the first round. That was focused
Okay.
on, Toronto, Peel, those areas.
Would you guys be open, Halton or Burlington, be open to kind of telling everybody what these places were, the businesses were? Just like I think it was York Region that's going to
Hmm.
be, they pretty much told everybody that, hey, it's this brand, this brand, this brand. So,
I did discuss that with our medical officer of health at Halton Region. I was certainly open to the idea and supportive of the idea, and after speaking with her, realized, to what end? And here's what I mean by that. Is it about shaming businesses? Maybe that's a good way to go. I don't know, but it doesn't actually have a public health benefit, because if you weren't in the store when an infected person was, there is no risk to you. And yet you can imagine people feeling like there might have been a risk to them. And our public health, we got an update today at regional council, and 91% of the time they do all the contact tracing within 24 hours. So that really is the right approach. Is if you are once they find out where the source of it is, instead of saying, you know, a store where hundreds of people may have gone through it, but most of them have, there's no risk to them. They wouldn't have crossed paths. If you need to know whether you've been exposed, you will be notified. Yeah. And the other message very clearly is for people to download the COVID app and to use it so that, you know, we can aggregate that data. That's really the intent of it, right? Instead of naming individual people or businesses that might unnecessarily harm them when they had nothing to do with why the virus was in their location. You know, let's do it the right way. Let's make sure the people who need to know have that information, and the rest of us just need to follow the health recommendations, which is stay 6 feet apart from anybody you don't live with at all times. At all times. Sure. Wear a mask as much as you can, including outside, especially in areas where people are congregating, like some of our parks or playgrounds. Wear a mask. Take extra precautions, and stay home the rest of the time. If you don't need to go out, don't.
Okay. It was this weekend was the first weekend that the stay-at-home order was enforced. Did Burlington or Halton give out a lot of tickets this weekend?
I heard a lot of complaints for sure, and this was from people who observed crowds in various parks. We have left our parks open. So I just want to be really clear with our community about what you're allowed to do. We are encouraging outdoor exercise and recreation. We have our ice rinks open. We have our parks and playgrounds opened. None of that has been closed by the province, which is different from the last time, and we're not closing them. I know some municipalities around us are. But we believe that physical exercise, getting outside, is critically important. And if you stay away from anybody who's not in your household, wear a mask if you're going to be close. It's an activity that we can do safely. So, you know, I encourage people to get outside. Stay in your neighborhood if you can. But, you know, the 5-person limit on congregating means don't organize a group of friends bigger than 5. And even if you do that, stay 6 feet apart. You know, we have a physical distancing bylaw that you could get a ticket even if you're in a group of 5 or less, if you're not staying apart. So stay apart, but that doesn't mean that only 5 people can be in Spencer Smith at any one time, right? So people are allowed to sort of spontaneously be outside in a space, but stay separated. And I think that's a really important message for our community. And I will ask via the show, please don't videotape and take pictures of people and post it. That's invading people's privacy. I've seen it on videos and cameras. It compresses the 3D aspect. You don't know from looking at a video whether somebody is 6 feet or 10 feet or 15 feet. I've taken pictures down at Beachway Park when we used to get a lot of complaints. And it looked like there were hordes of people. And yet when I would walk, it was small groups near each other, not violating that physical distancing. So don't be too quick to judge. But if you do think there's a problem, call our hotline. So they will go down, and they're doing regular patrols. But if there are calls and complaints of something happening in real time, best to call the hotline rather than email me. They'll get it before I do, especially if I'm in a meeting all day. So for real-time enforcement, COVID hotline 905-825-4742.
Okay, perfect. do you get the videos and pictures and stuff sent to you directly?
I do. But they also get posted on social platforms. Yeah. And if you haven't obscured the identity of people in those, and most of them have not obscured the identity, it is a violation of people's privacy.
True.
So instead, the better course of action, instead of, you know, filming and posting it online, call the hotline. we'll get bylaw officers out there. The city is actually working on some enhanced communications, some signage right in the parks. We used to have that, but the messages are a little different than last March, because we didn't have a mask bylaw. So we're updating that so that people know when they come to a park what they should expect and what is expected of them. So I hope that will help everybody to enjoy that space safely, which is exactly what we want them to do.
The headline will be "Call the hotline and not the mayor."
Yes. Well,
okay.
for faster service,
Yeah.
I'm not. I do have a megaphone, but I can't write a ticket. So call the bylaw folks. You'll get the situation resolved faster and more effectively.
We all know the situation with the vaccines. Obviously, next shipment is going to be 0. Heard that it's going to be catching up in February. But Toronto has a mass vaccination site ready to go. Will Burlington have one in place soon?
So I was on a call with other heads of council to get an update on the vaccination rollout, and specifically talked about the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. They are setting that up as really a sort of a test site. So they're going to work out all the kinks of a mass vaccination site, create a mass vaccination in a box sort of kit for all the rest of us. So they're going to go first and really pioneer all of the protocols, all of the steps that need to be taken. And then once the mass public vaccination campaign rolls out, we'll have the benefit of that learning. So once they get up and running, they'll kind of create the template for all of the rest of us to follow. And remember, the mass vaccinations are not happening until phase 3. We got a ways to go in a bunch of months. So the city is preparing. We have a COVID task force at the city. We have a COVID task force at Halton Region. They are coordinating together. Our role as a city, just to be clear, we don't buy the vaccines. We don't decide who gets them first. We don't even put the vaccines in the arms. Public health does that. What we do is we provide a place for it all to happen. So we are actively looking at recreation facilities or other suitable spaces in the city to work with the region. When our turn comes, we'll be ready with a facility.
Okay. And this is the broken record question I have to ask every week. Do you think Halton will be at a lockdown February 11th, based on kind of the positive numbers the last few days?
We are looking good. So what that tells us all is that the measures are working, that the public are cooperating, and they need to keep doing that. So we're not out of the woods yet. We're not out of the woods yet in Halton, and we're not out of the woods in the entire region. And we've talked before that the lens we have to look through now isn't just one public health unit, which is Halton Region. We have to look at all the health units around us, all of the health capacity around us, because we know that patients will be redirected from hotspots if necessary. So really, until the numbers go down collectively across our whole Southern Ontario region, we're not getting out of lockdown.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on sick pay? There's a lot of talk out west here. Well, west being like Mississauga, Brampton, Toronto. East. What are your thoughts on sick pay?
Funny you should ask. We actually at Regional Council, myself and my colleague, Councillor Rory Nissan, who also is our representative on Federation of Canadian Municipalities, who has been leading the charge. We passed a resolution unanimously at Regional Council just today. It's on my social feeds if you want to see it, saying that there has to be enhanced sick leave. And this is actually something that was first brought, as you know, to Peel, but the Ontario Big City Mayors also passed a resolution. Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie brought that, along with Patrick Brown from the Mayor of Brampton. Really grateful to the two of them for leading the way, both in Peel, but also on the Ontario Big City Mayors. So our meeting last Friday, we passed a resolution on sick pay. I brought essentially that same resolution, myself and Councillor Nissan, to Regional Council today. So we absolutely believe people should not have to choose between staying healthy, keeping their colleagues around them healthy, and putting food on the table and paying their rent. And that's what this is about.
Okay. I asked this to the other mayors as well, Crombie and Brown, in regards to throwing the sick pay back to the companies. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the mechanism can be whatever it needs to be, but obviously the federal and provincial governments have a role to play, and it just needs to get done. When people hear questions like that, and I'm not faulting you at all, but people don't really care where it's coming from. It just needs to happen,
Yeah,
right?
true.
If it's you taking sick leave, you just need it to happen. You need it to happen quickly. So I think it's reasonable for some shared, because this is a community benefit. If we can keep our entire community healthy by keeping some sick folks home to get better and for themselves and also not infect others, we benefit from that. So I have no objection to federal and provincial governments stepping in and helping with that. And I also think there's a shared responsibility with private corporations, and some of them do have that. So, I'm fortunate enough in my job to have sick pay. I mean, I don't take time off terribly often. It's kind of a 24/7 job for me. But I've never had in this role anyway, never had to worry about that. When I worked when I was self-employed for 11 years, I sure did. If I didn't work, I didn't get paid. So I know what it's like to be on the other side too.
Sorry, you were self-employed? What'd you do?
As a journalist for 11 years, I had my own business, my own
Wow.
company. Yeah, absolutely. Hundreds of clients. Yeah, I loved that, but I left it to serve the community in a different way. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay. How
Hmm.
did I not know that? Okay, sorry. Um, Joe Brandt, lack of a better word, kind of COVID hospital. What is the actual name for that?
Well, you can use the PRU, Pandemic
Yeah.
Response Unit, or Field Hospital,
Okay.
if you wish. Both are accurate, and Ontario is actually looking at Joe Brandt to set the model for other field hospitals that they are seriously considering in other areas of the province. So that is up and running, and how many patients fluctuates from day to day. I don't have today's count, but it is being used,
It
and
is being used.
so absolutely.
Okay. One thing I noticed about your posts, your stories, your Twitter, Burlington seems to have a lot more public consultations than the other cities that
Of
we.
course we do.
And and I guess I know why, but why do you have so many, right? I mean,
Well, that's a reflection of the elected officials, certainly around the table now, but even before, in my time as a council member, we truly believe, and I truly believe, the best decisions are made when you consult the people that you're making the decisions for. And
okay.
that's you. That's the public. They know what's happening in their neighborhood at street level. They know the community, they know the history, and if they're new to the community, they have another set of perspectives, a fresh set of eyes that we need to listen to. So I have seen in my time as a councillor for 8 years and as mayor for 2 years, when we fully engage and invite the feedback from the community on whatever issue we're tackling, we get those I never thought of that moment, right? That's what you want. Thank you for bringing that forward. Yes, we will incorporate that, and it's a good thing you did. Better decisions get made. It's as simple as that. And you also then have your community with you. You're not doing things to your community, you're doing things with your community.
Burlington does that a lot more than any other city I've followed.
we
So,
we pride ourselves on that.
so the city of Toronto this week came out and started talking about summer events already. Pride, Caravana, Canada Day, stuff like that. And
Wow.
I know we're in January, but what do you think of summer? You guys, Burlington has some huge festivals, so
We do.
about that already?
We haven't. We're still trying to make sure that people have virtual or outdoor events that are safe and follow the regulations, just to get through the blue months, the sad months where we all have less light and it's cold and we're inside more. And you know, I think it's really important for folks to level set some expectations that phase 3 of the vaccination, if it happens sooner, great, but we're really looking at the fall.
Yeah.
You know, that's the information we got on our very first call with General Hillier, who of course is the chair of the provincial COVID vaccination task force. And it was sobering, but I appreciated his honesty that it's going to take a long time, and we've seen just the bumps in the road recently, that, you know, to get everybody vaccinated. And even then, there are folks for a variety of reasons who won't or can't. And so, you know, I know one of the conferences that I go to every year, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference, is August. It's virtual. They've
Okay.
already made that. They've already made that decision, and I feel better about that. I know that there's a conference, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, happens in June. They're still hoping to be able to gather people. I'm not getting on a plane in June.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, there's, even though hope is on the horizon, until all of us or enough of us are vaccinated, there's still a risk.
True.
And we shouldn't be kidding ourselves about that.
I'm going to get to some viewer questions now. Not COVID related here. I got one question that says, what are you doing about coyotes? It's getting out of hand.
We have the coyote question every year around this time because it's mating season and denning season. And so coyotes hole up. We have lots of ravines and water courses through Burlington. It makes our community wonderfully beautiful, but the animals like it too.
Yeah.
And that's where they get food and water. And so we have a whole set of information on our City of Burlington webpage related to coyotes, what you can do to keep your home and your property safe, what you can do if you're out and you spot them. Typically, they're afraid of you too. You know, if you make a lot of noise, we call it hazing. They don't bother with you much. I know it can be unsettling for some folks to see a coyote from across the street or across the way. I've certainly seen them right outside my door, and they pretty much stick to themselves. And one of the best things people can do is really ensure that when you throw out your green bin waste, you don't do it too early and that it is secure, because animals are attracted by food. They'll come where the food is. So I have noticed fewer bunnies in my neighborhood, fewer skunks too, and fewer of other pests that we don't want. So it really is about how do we safely, be in a place where there are going to be coyotes. I know people have asked us if we can kill them. We can't. Actually, the Ministry of Natural Resources dictates that they cannot be killed or euthanized or even relocated.
Okay.
And so we have to kind of learn how to coexist. And there have been times when the city's taped off areas of our park where a coyote mom has moved in with her pups, and we leave them alone until they move off, which they do eventually. And the really important thing to remember about coyotes, even if we could move them all off, the next set of coyotes would take their place. There's a reason why they're here. And we can do our part by, at the very least, depriving them of an easy or ready food source, which keeps the numbers down.
Cool. And another one we have, are any additional measures being taken to reduce spread of COVID-19 throughout the region, I guess through Halton Public Health?
So the biggest thing that you can do, stay home, stay safe, save lives.
Yeah.
So stay in your neighborhood, stay home, don't travel.
Yeah.
Don't travel to cottage country. And if you go outside, so you can go outside to recreate, and that is really important. So stay home doesn't mean you have to stay in your house. You can go outside. We have a dog. We walk our dog a couple of times a day. We walk around the neighborhood. We walk to parks in our neighborhood. We have some beautiful conservation areas. They are within our region. They are by reservation to keep the crowds down. So you know that if you make that trek, you can be safe while out on the trails. Our dog parks are open, and some of those you can only drive to because we only have a few. So you can, for recreation, outdoor recreation purposes, you can move about. The rest of the time, if you don't need to leave your house, don't. So just about everything, for most of us, we can get online. I order my groceries online. It actually is a huge time saver too, by the way. You don't have to go there. But almost anything you can order online, have it delivered, or do curbside pickup, which is also safe, and that helps some of your businesses, and you avoid the fees. So, work from home wherever you can. I'm in my dining room here in Burlington. This is where I join you from every week. Every day I'm in meetings from home, and to the degree that you can, so that those who have to leave home, it's safer for them, right? The healthcare workers, the people in manufacturing, the people who cannot do their job from home, who must go out, let's give them a wide berth. Let's make it safe for them. And those of us who can stay home, please do.
I think Doug Ford said it best. He said, "Stay à la maison," right?
À la maison, mes amis. Yes.
He didn't say it as good as us, but I mean.
À la maison.
So, any other things you'd like to talk about?
Well, we did pass a couple of other resolutions you might be interested at Regional Council today. So another one was COVID related. It was about safe restart funding. So we are continuing to implore the provincial and federal governments to once again make municipalities whole and share their resources with us, as they did in 2021. But we're not out of the woods yet in 2022. Clearly, with all of us closed, rightly so, our revenues are down, our transit revenues are down, we don't have recreation fees coming in, our costs are up. So it's the same as, it's like, 2021 2.0, right?
Yeah.
So 2020 is the same. And so myself and my fellow mayor, Gordon Krantz from Milton, co-sponsored a resolution asking for additional federal and provincial dollars. And that was actually first, we borrowed it from the Ontario Big City Mayors caucus. They approved that resolution. And what we've learned in this pandemic is that the more of us speak up with the same message, the more success we will have. So we brought that resolution with thanks to OBCM to our regional colleagues. That was approved unanimously.
And sorry, what is this funding is going to be used for?
So this is to help municipalities cover revenue losses or increased expenses due to COVID.
Okay. And do they owe that money? Is that funding already there from the government that they owe you, or is this new funding?
This would be new. Yes. So it's like you helped us out in 2021. We need you again in 2022.
Okay.
That's the message. And then there's another resolution that it was the day of my resolutions. There were a lot of them at the same time. So myself and my colleague, Councillor Calvin Galbraith, who is also a business person, who also sits with me on the Burlington Economic Recovery Network. We worked with that table as well as our friends at Team Burlington, which is the Chamber, ECDEV, our two BIAs, and tourism, to bring a resolution to Regional Council to ask that the provincial government, extend the digital Main Street funding and expand it to small businesses that are not in BIAs. And so that funding was to help small businesses, transition to a digital environment, a digital platform. The money, it was a kind of a one-time program, but had huge uptake in Burlington, was very successful, really helped our businesses to transition, which they need to do. And we're still in the pandemic. So our message was, look, it was needed then, thank you, it's still needed. And there's lots more businesses that should be qualifying, other small businesses that just by geography don't happen to be within a business association boundary. So that was approved as well.
Okay.
Lots of advocacy. I will tell you that I do more advocacy work in a month than I did in 8 years as a council member. So it's a whole full-time job.
And I think I've asked you this. First place you're going to fly to when we can all fly?
Well, I'd like to actually take the trip that I wanted to do as part of our mondialization to the Netherlands, Apeldoorn. We have a twin city relationship with Apeldoorn in the Netherlands. I was supposed to fly there with a crew from the city, our mondialization folks, to celebrate and honor the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Holland. And as you probably know, they treat Canadians like royalty and are so grateful 75 years later. It was going to be a huge commemoration and celebration, and was really looking forward to being part of that. And that's not going to happen this year either in 2022. So we're really hoping, sorry, 2021. So we're hoping 2022 is the year. Yep. And I will be there with bells on to represent Burlington residents and city council. And we have many people of Dutch heritage that live in our city who help us with that lived through those days, that were there when the Canadian troops rolled in and, you know, defeated the Nazis. And so very powerful, lots of local roots here for that. So that will be the first flight that I take.
Awesome.
One day.
In 22. So, well, there we go. 31 minutes in. Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Thanks a lot, Khaled. Take care.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You too.